There's a specific kind of tired that nobody talks about. It's not the tired that comes from working too hard or from too little sleep. This is the tired of being someone everyone counts on, someone who quietly handles everything, and the exhaustion of realizing that not one single person knows how heavy that actually is. There's a certain kind of person in this world. When something breaks in their house, in their workplace, in their life, they don't reach for their phone to call someone. They figure it out, they watch the tutorials, they stay up until midnight and they solve it, alone, because asking for help doesn't feel like an option, it feels like a defeat. From the outside, these people look like superhumans, capable, resourceful, unbreakable. But underneath all that competence, there's a story. And that story started a long time before the first leaking pipe or the first solo project. If you're someone who fixes everything yourself, I want you to know this was never just about being good at things. What I'm about to share might be the most accurate description of your inner world you've ever encountered. Keep watching because this goes much deeper than skill. Nobody is born this way. No child enters the world thinking, I'll handle it myself. Children are born reaching, grabbing, crying out. Connection is the first instinct, not independence. But something happens to some children that quietly rewrites that instinct forever. Maybe it was a parent who was supposed to show up and didn't. Maybe it was a home where asking for help was met with irritation, where needing something made you feel like a burden, an inconvenience, an interruption. Maybe nobody was cruel, maybe they were just absent, emotionally unavailable, distracted. The child learns something in those moments, a lesson so quiet and so early that it bypasses conscious thought. It goes straight into the nervous system. If you need something, get it yourself. Depending on others is how you get hurt. And so the child adapts, they become self-contained, remarkably competent. Praised by everyone around them, she's so mature, he's so independent, you never have to worry about that one. And inside, a belief is being carved into the architecture of who they are. I am on my own, and that's fine, I'm fine. Psychologists have a name for what that child develops. They call it avoidant attachment. The mechanism is almost heartbreaking when you understand it. The child doesn't stop having needs, they stop expressing them. Because every time they did, nothing good came back. That child grew up, the world changed around them, but the operating system didn't update. That same coping mechanism, the one that was genuinely protective when you were small, doesn't just follow you into adulthood. It starts shaping your entire identity. Competence becomes your personality. Fixing things becomes more than a skill, it becomes who you are. And an identity built on self-sufficiency feels rock solid from the outside. But from the inside, it is terrifyingly fragile. Ask someone like this to let someone else handle something important. Watch what happens. Watch the discomfort rise, the subtle hypervigilance that kicks in, the way they monitor whether the other person is doing it right. The quiet, almost imperceptible relief when they finally take it back. Letting someone else handle something isn't just inconvenient for this person, it feels dangerous. It triggers a whisper from somewhere deep in childhood, they will drop the ball, they always do it yourself. This is what researchers mean when they talk about compulsive self-reliance. The psychologist John Bowlby, one of the pioneers of attachment theory, used that phrase specifically, compulsive. Meaning it doesn't feel like a choice, it feels like gravity. And this is the part that most people who live this way have never been told. What looks like strength from the outside is, at its core, a form of armor. It was built out of old pain, worn so long it no longer feels like armor at all. It just feels like personality. Now let's talk about the hidden cost, because there is one. And it tends to show up slowly, quietly, long after the armor was first put on. Here's what happens over time to the person who fixes everything themselves. They start attracting people who let them. It happens naturally, unconsciously. Relationships form where one person handles things and the other person lets them. And the self-sufficient one doesn't even complain. They prefer it this way, or at least they think they do. But underneath the competence, something is building. A slow, quiet accumulation of weight, not quite resentment, not quite grief, something harder to name than that. It's the exhaustion of always being the one who holds things together. The specific loneliness of being so capable that the people around you forget you're human too. The painful irony of being the person everyone leans on while having no one to lean on yourself. And they won't ask for help. That's the thing that makes this so invisible. Even when they're struggling, especially when they're struggling, they project calm. They say I've got it, they mean it, they always figure it out. But figuring it out alone, every single time over years and decades, has a cost that never shows up on the outside. That cost shows up in burnout that people can't explain. In relationships that feel close but somehow hollow. In a persistent, low-grade loneliness that sits beneath a perfectly functional life. Studies on loneliness, including decades of research by social neuroscientist John Cacioppo, show that chronic isolation, even self-chosen isolation, degrades psychological and physical health over time. The body doesn't distinguish between being abandoned and choosing to go it alone. The cost is the same. And most people who live this way don't even realize they're lonely. They've been alone in their effort for so long that it feels normal. They've redefined solitude as preference, when really it's just the only thing they've ever known. Here's where I want to stop and be honest with you. This trait, this self-reliance, this capacity to handle whatever comes, it's also genuinely remarkable. I don't want to pathologize it, I don't want to make it sound like something broken that needs to be fixed. Albert Bandura, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, spent his career studying what he called self-efficacy. The deep embodied belief that you can handle what life throws at you. And he found that it is one of the most powerful predictors of resilience and success that exists. The person who fixes everything themselves has built this belief brick by brick. Through every problem they solved alone, every midnight repair, every moment of crisis they walked through without leaning on anyone. Each one compounded into something so strong it's almost physical. I can figure this out. That is a genuinely extraordinary thing. The competence is real, the resilience is earned. But the question isn't whether the trait has value, it clearly does. The question is, are you choosing it or is it choosing you? Because there's a crucial difference between someone who is self-reliant because they love solving problems and someone who cannot stop being self-reliant because their nervous system won't allow it. One is freedom, the other is a cage made of your own strengths. And from the outside, they look identical. The person who self-relies from a place of freedom can put the wrench down. They can say, you handle this one. They can watch someone else do it imperfectly and feel nothing but warmth. They can ask for help without a knot forming in their chest. But the person who can't stop, who lies awake mentally solving problems that haven't even broken yet, who gets quietly unsettled when someone tries to help, that person isn't just resourceful. That person is running a very old program on autopilot. And it is costing them something they haven't fully named yet. So what does it look like when that program starts to cost too much? You show up for everyone, spectacularly, you're the one your friends call in a crisis. The one your colleagues rely on, the one your family leans on, and you do it, you show up every time. But almost no one shows up for you. Not because they wouldn't, but because you've never created the space. You've subtly, consistently communicated that you don't need anyone, that you're fine, that you've got it. So they believe you, and you're alone in your effort. Surrounded by people who love you, held by no one. That is the deepest layer of this psychology. Not the competence, not the childhood wound, not even the avoidance. It's the quiet belief that needing someone is a weakness. And the even quieter grief of a life spent proving you don't. So what actually changes this? What does the path forward look like for someone built this way? It's not an inspirational speech, it's not someone telling you to just let people in. That advice, however well-meaning, lands like a foreign language when your nervous system is wired for self-containment. You can't think your way out of a nervous system response. What actually shifts it is a specific kind of experience. The experience of needing help, asking for it, and having that bet pay off, just once. Because the story running underneath all of this, whether you're aware of it or not, is this. If I depend on someone, they will let me down, and I will be worse off than if I'd just done it alone. That story felt true once. It may have been true once in a specific time with specific people. But it became a generalization, a rule applied to every person, every situation, every moment of potential vulnerability. Healing looks like building evidence against that story slowly, one moment at a time. Letting someone drive, asking a friend for a favor and actually letting them do it. Telling someone you're struggling and not minimizing it the moment their face shows concern. Researchers describe this as building new neural pathways, one brave moment at a time. Every time someone wired for avoidance stays present in a vulnerable moment, they strengthen a different belief. The old wiring doesn't disappear, but it loses its monopoly. This is slow work, and it doesn't happen in isolation. Therapy helps. He specifically approaches that work at the level of the nervous system, not just the thinking mind. But also, relationships where safety is demonstrated repeatedly. Where the person shows up and keeps showing up, where letting someone in doesn't result in being dropped. The crack in the old story doesn't come from deciding to trust. It comes from experiencing something that makes trust possible. The most capable person in the room is sometimes the loneliest person in the room. Not because they can't connect, but because they never learned that needing someone isn't the opposite of strength. It is, in fact, one of the bravest things a human being can do. You built something real with your self-reliance. The competence is genuine, the resilience is earned. None of that disappears when you let someone help you. What disappears is the weight of carrying everything alone. Think about the last time someone helped you, genuinely helped you, without you minimizing it or immediately returning the favor. How long ago was that? When was the last time you let someone show up for you the way you show up for everyone else? If you can't answer that quickly, that's not a character flaw, that's information. The armor kept you safe, but you've been wearing it so long you might have forgotten what it feels like without it. Real strength isn't needing nothing. Real strength is knowing what you need, and having people you trust enough to say so. It's being capable and still choosing to share the weight, not because you can't carry it, but because you no longer have to. That is not weakness, that is something harder, that is courage. The bravest thing someone built the way you are can do isn't fix the next impossible thing alone. It's to pause, to look at the person beside you, and to say, actually, I could use some help with this one. That sentence might be the most powerful thing you ever say. Every time you choose connection over control, you rewrite a little of the old story. Not all at once, never all at once. But one moment, one handoff, one small act of trust at a time. You have spent a lifetime proving you don't need anyone. And you've proven it completely, thoroughly, at great cost. Now imagine what becomes possible when you stop. The door was always open. You just needed to walk through it. Finally, quietly let someone in.
Like to learn more about human psychology? Like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe my channel now. Thank you for watching.